Bam. Bam. How are you? How are you tonight? I probably should get an intro. Like it's been, what, 6 months since I've been on my new streaming software and I haven't gotten around to it yet. How are you tonight? Is it an uncharacteristic late live stream? Yes. Yes, it is. I just had one of those days and like somehow if I don't get a stream in it, it makes me feel like I haven't gotten anything done and I just need it. I need it today. I need the stream. I hope you're well. We're going to go over a lot of things. I luckily I have friends and family and you sending me articles so I can go over those. Today we're going to talk about maybe the inventory or the excess supply narrative has been false the whole time in housing. Maybe that's what's going on. Maybe the housing market is due for a collapse. Now I don't know that that's true. I don't like to prognosticate as a real estate agent. I like to take every day as it comes to me and kind of work in that space. So, John, is the housing market going to go up by 20%, year over year? I don't know. I would rather be honest with somebody and say, I really don't know, than bullshit somebody over time. It's just not who I am. So I don't know. Is it going to collapse? I know that one of the things I'm learning about Google, one of the things I'm learning about social media is that you have to always be speaking with hyperbole. You have to always say things like, the housing market's going to collapse. The housing market soars. The housing market, beware. You have to have some sort of scary thing in the title or nobody's going to watch the video. And the same thing with anything else, real estate related, like house prices dive 20% will definitely get you more than is the housing market due for, a return to normal. What is normal in this day and age, though, I guess is that. But anyway, you have to be sensational. You have to scare people, or you have to feed into their own fears. So, like, what would be a fear that home sellers have? Well, the biggest fear that home sellers have, in my experience, is they're afraid that they're not going to be able to sell their house. They honestly believe that there's no one that wants to buy their house. Now, it's a very strange thing because they bought the house and they also have this belief that they're the smartest people out there. And so obviously their house is perfect and there's nothing wrong with it. And everyone would be honored to own that house. But deep down, what if that house doesn't sell? For instance, my neighbor's house sold for like $210,000, and now my house is on the market for $225,000. And what if it doesn't sell? The neighbors are going to think that I'm a lesser, like I didn't do it right. Things of that nature. These are fears that are they're real. But you have to prey on those fears if you want to do well with your titles on YouTube. And I'm not real good at it, I don't think. I've tried all kinds of titles. It doesn't seem to matter. My impressions don't go up because of the titles that I use. My impressions don't go up for any reason, really. I have no idea what's going to happen from today to day. Anyway, that's my situation. We're going to go over. There was some punishment given out to somebody that killed a realtor, and I'm going to go over that story hopefully pretty quick. I hate people that target other people who are working. I hate it. I will always hate it. To me, the people that work in like at convenience stores and have to worry about being robbed every day. There should just be death. And I hate to be that way, but you assault somebody that's working. We had a person in St. Louis. There was a company called Leclerc Gas that turned into Spire, and they were fixing a gas line in an alley, and someone came up and shot them. And it's just like, it's just such a terrible thing. So I just, we'll go over that. I have some stuff going on. We'll talk about that. Just like, let's just have a chilled, laid back stream. One of the worst things that I do is I get to wanting to do something so perfect and so great and so exceptional that I end up freezing. Like I end up, like for a show, like let's just say instead of spending an hour and just getting a good amount of information together, I'll spend 2 and 3, and then I won't get anything else done. And then I spent so much time on it, I'll get nervous that I got it wrong, and so I won't want to do a stream. The fears of doing a stream are kind of like, well, what if no one shows up? Well, no one showed up all the time. I've done like 200 streams. I mean, it's like sometimes people don't show up, and then other times people do, and you don't know why. So that's a stupid thing. But anyway, it gets in your head. Last time I streamed was Thursday. Friday, I went to I did a small road trip with my wife. We went to Waterloo, Iowa, to visit some family. Have you ever been to Waterloo, Iowa? I've never been. It was quite fascinating. It was the thing that hurt me there was there was a mall, and it was just like disappearing, and I think that must be happening across the United States, because some of our malls are gone here in St. Louis, and some of the other ones are just barely hanging on. But in Waterloo, they had built all this development around this mall. So you had these hotels, and you had like restaurants and retail, and then the mall is just like a big pit in the middle of all this retail, and it's not good for the community. I certainly hope things will turn out better for everybody. It's very strange. Like as I'm living my life, as time goes on, how things change. When I was a kid, you'd go to the mall for everything. I mean, even hardware. There was no such, really at the time, I don't remember there being like, we had Builders Square, and then we had like GQ or CQ or HQ. I think it was HQ. It was green. But anyway, all those places closed. I mean, I just can't believe the malls are dead. But I mean, some of them are doing well, but like we had Crestwood Mall. Crestwood Mall, I didn't even know this. It was it started out as an outdoor mall that they put a roof over. I had no idea. And then it just decayed and went, and there was a water pipe underneath it. That property changed hands at one point in time for $370 million. I mean, now it's just an eyesore. They're rebuilding it into like condos and a movie theater, but it sat for years. Maybe it sat for the last 10 years. The kids didn't even know it was a mall there. And it's just fascinating how retail changes over time. I mean, Amazon just did a fantastic job crushing everyone. Walmart did its part to crush people. Yeah, good stuff. So it all changes, but you're still here, So anyway, that was Waterloo. Drive up to Waterloo is 5 hours. We did it without stopping on the way up, and we did it with one stop on the way back, but only because yesterday it was like thunderstorming, and I don't know. Friday we're up there for 5 hours driving, and then Sunday we're driving back for 5 hours. It's kind of like, I don't know, kind of need some time out of the car. Anyway, it does play into this. It does play into the first discussion that I wanted to go over tonight. I want to check my notes real quick and make sure that I don't forget something before I start. Okay, so Friday, leave for Iowa. No one's asking to see any houses this weekend. Things have been down lately. I don't know why for me, as far as showings are going. But anyway, Saturday, I get an email from some clients that I really like, and they said, hey, this house says this house is coming soon. What do you know about it? And so I was up there, and I said I'll check on it in the morning. And so Saturday morning, I checked on it, and it was still coming soon, and it was going to go active on Sunday, but there were no pictures and there were no disclosures, so there was really not a whole lot I could do. So I emailed back. I did take my computer for work. And I emailed back and I said, look, this just based on some things, a little sketchy, doesn't seem like the right place, but I will look it up again tomorrow. As soon as I get pictures and stuff, let's go from there. And they were totally good with that. And so Sunday morning, I looked and there were no pictures. There was nothing. Right around noon or 1, I got a text from, I was driving home. I got a text from one of the buyers, and she said, hey, we saw the pictures and we like it. We'd like you to go take a look at it. And I was like, okay, no problem. But I was driving, and so I wasn't able to. I was in a bad cell phone area, so I wasn't going to be able. And I was driving. I wasn't able to text. Got home. There was a huge thunderstorm here in St. Louis. At least where I am. Last night, didn't go out, didn't do anything. This morning, I set the showing. Everything was blocked out until 1 o'clock this afternoon. Set the showing. This is like 9 o'clock this morning, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock this morning. I set the showing, and 10:30, I get an email that says the property is under contract, and that's that. And so I thought we should talk about that in some ways. One, there's this, they call it FOMO, fear of missing out. I don't know if it applies here, but I absolutely hate what happened. Like, as a real estate agent, you have like one job, and that's like show property. Show property. I mean, I say you have one job. Now, of course, you have to have clients. You have to have buyers and sellers. But you have to show property. And this happens from time to time, and it's so annoying. A couple of ways it happens. One, it happens like it did with me, where, you couldn't even show the property. And then other times you find a property that your buyers like, you go back to your house to write up the offer, or your office. And by the time you write the offer, the house goes under contract with someone else. Like, you don't even have a chance to put the offer in. It just causes severe angst and disappointment, heartache. Today I was depressed pretty much all day because I wasn't able to deliver for my buyers. Now, I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. I know deep down in my heart that wasn't the house for them. You know why? Because it didn't work out. After a while in this business, like you just start to realize things sometimes don't work out, but it's still hard. It still gets at me. Like, this shouldn't have happened. I should have been able to show that house. You say, well, you should have showed it last night. Well, there's a huge thunderstorm. I just gotten back from a long weekend, and they didn't even have any pictures of the house until maybe 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So, and then if you look at it today, look, they had showings and they canceled the showings, which what that means is somebody put an offer that was stupid. It was stupid. It's a bad offer as far as going to be way too high. My buyers weren't in a position where they were going to be able to buy this house. I know this for a fact. Here's some of the reasons why. One, they had a list of questions like a mile long, and I wasn't going to be able to get those answers from the agent because the agent wasn't going to give me them. They didn't care. They had so many people interested in this house that they didn't care. They weren't going to answer questions. You just write an offer and you just hope you get it. But man, it really, 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 really affects my day. And I know, I know that I would not have. I know that by the time I would have come back to the house, shown the listing to the buyers have a moment to make a decision. It was all going to go too fast for them to have a chance to buy this house. And I know this, it was not going to be successful, but at the same time, it just like, you have one job. You can't show a freaking house. You couldn't show a house today. I mean, seriously. And like, it's like, no, structurally I couldn't. I wanted to set an appointment for 9 o'clock this morning, but the appointments were all taken up and they weren't allowing overlapping showings. What was I going to do? It doesn't matter. It's just the same. It's the fact I wasn't able to show it that is what makes it tough. So, I mean, how do you recoup from that? How do you pick yourself back up? Well, I mean, doesn't it sound silly when I tell you, like right now, how bad it irritates me? Like it just so I'm trying to, it seems stupid, right? It's like, watch, you say, John, you weren't going to be able to get that house under contract with your buyers and you're mad that you weren't able to show it. I'm mad because I feel like I let my buyers down. I feel like even though it wasn't going to work out, I should have at least been able to show the house. And I'm a little bit like, I know there was something suspect about this house. I just know it. Just from the agent. And who would literally, when they have showings lined up and have had the house on the market for one day, who in their right mind as an agent would call the deal unless, the house was just, the offer was just ridiculous that they got. It still just frustrates me. I don't know. Just, they say like it is what it is. I took apart a pen, which is always a bad idea. Because I was fumbling around. Anyway, so there's no, I won't pick myself up from that today. It's just going to irritate me. I can remember there was a house on Bates Street in St. Louis that my buyers wanted a while back. And I even told the agent, hey, we're writing an offer. Do we have time? And he's like, sure, you have time. And then whenever we went to write the offer, it went pending without anybody even telling us. They say time is of the essence in real estate. It is, but it's not feasible. Like, how do I put this? So say a house goes active, and even if you're not allowed to show the house, how are you going to get the thing under contract? It's just frustrating. That leads me into the next issue, at least for me and Deerwood Realty. I'm going on a long trip in October. I'll be gone pretty much the first 3 weeks of October. Now, I was talking about this to my lender the other day, and it's one of those things where I tell myself, like, first of all, there's a couple things. One, I tell myself I'm not supposed to work all day, every day. But yet when I try to relax, all I'm thinking about is work. All I'm doing is checking my phone. And then when I do anything during the day, I check my work phone probably, maybe 1,000 times. It's gross. It's gross. And the fear is that someone will call and they will need something and I won't be able to provide it, and they will go find another agent. The fear is that there'll be a deal that I'm working on where something will happen in the deal that I need to be responsive to, and I won't be able to respond in a timely way to help my buyer or my seller. These are the fears that I have. And it's not a fear like the money part. You'd think that'd be a fear, but it's not the money thing. It's that you let someone down. Somebody thought about you and you let them down. And it's just so bad. And so when I went to Iowa, I was trying so hard to not pay attention to my phone, to not check my computer, to not do all that, but I did. And there was a birthday party we went to for a 1-year-old, or for a 2-year-old, I'm sorry. And, I had to make phone calls during the birthday party, and it was just, wasn't great. It wasn't great. But anyway, when I'm gone in October, I'll be halfway around the world. And I think I'm going to take my computer, but, and I did work out a deal with another broker friend of mine who's going to show the houses for me if anybody calls. But I just don't know of many other businesses where you just feel like you have to be on the go. Like you have to be available 24/7. And so, one of the fights we've had at the house over the years is when we had the kids at the house, it's like they all wanted to go on vacation like July. Well, in St. Louis in July, I mean, that is prime buying season, prime listing season for real estate agents. I mean, if you want me to go in February, nobody's doing anything. January, December, the space between November and December, typically I don't have anything going on. I can go anywhere you want. We can go on vacation, but it never works that way. So doing it in October, I still have some business, to get done. And it's going to be fascinating to see how it works out in the end. I get really, really, I hate to leave my business to other people, but I've had the brokerage since 2015, my own independent one. And I've never gone on a vacation longer than 2 weeks. I've never left the country. And it's not like I deserve, to leave. It's not like it's not like, this is what I have to do. And this is the time I have to do it. And so, I mean, it's just going to be that way. So I'm a little bit, that's the other thing. So, I'm going to be gone for October. I'm not going to be able to stream for like 3 weeks because I'm not going to be home and I'm not streaming from where I'm at because quite frankly, the internet's probably not that great. And I'm going to be like gone. So you say, well, John, now your channel's going to go away. Well, how many people do I have on a live stream? Like really, how many people are subscribed? I've got 98 subscribers now. I don't even have 100 subscribers. If I'm gone for 3 weeks and YouTube penalizes me, even more, I mean, what am I going to do? Now, I'm going to change subjects one more time. I wanted to talk about something that's fairly recent, fairly interesting phenomenon. I have been attacked more than once on my personal appearance. And I find it fascinating because it's not something I can do anything about. Like I'm bald. I'm 45 years old. Could I be a little bit more fit? Sure. But earlier in the month, I got my hair cut and I just wanted to be clean for a while. Like I was tired of the beard. I was tired of all, just felt like I needed to so I shaved my head and I shaved my beard and I was totally fine with that. And didn't bother me a bit. But my wife was like, she's like, oh my God, that's extreme. And then I had a friend that was just ripping on me on Facebook. And it was like, really? Like, it just blew my mind. I mean, what am I, like a 2-year-old? Like, am I in like middle school? So that was weird. And then I had a YouTube short where somebody said some stuff about me. And it's like, these aren't things that I can change. Like I can't help that this is the way I look. I mean, I've got a face for radio. Okay, great. I mean, it's just weird to me. I mean, you look at Instagram and you look at who has a lot of followers. It's not 45-year-old bald dudes with beards. No, I'll let you figure out who that is. This is true in real estate as well. If you are beautiful, you will do more business than someone who isn't. Like physically attractive, beautiful, you will do much more business. But that's true with all sales. Pharmaceutical sales, famously, when I was in school, people wanted to be like, even my daughter wants to be in pharmaceuticals, and she is beautiful. But the idea that I would, the problem with the people that were pharmaceutical salesmen or saleswomen is they would do really well from about the age of 20 to 40. And then all of a sudden they would lose out to people that were in their 20s. Real estate's kind of fascinating. Some of these women, like you'll see their pictures and it'll be like from 20 years ago and they're still just holding on to that picture, but they've changed dramatically. No offense to them. Like, look at what I'm working with. Like I never got the opportunity to be attractive enough to sell a home based on my looks, like, or market my looks or anything. I just never got that opportunity. So I get it. But anyway, to have it happen, like, you have these random people write these comments that are just like ignorant. And you're like, ouch, ouch. That's nothing I can do about this, So I don't know. I'm learning to just kind of, that's what you want to write about me. That's what you want to say. Okay. But man, they're coming for me. So anyway, that's what I wanted to say about that. I think we should get to some articles. Let's do that. I have to get it all in order. This goes to this one here. This is our Google trending article. Did it come up? Yeah. I thought this was fascinating. This was, like I said, in Google Trends, and I wanted to go over it with you just because maybe I don't think the same thing Ozzy Osbourne thinks. But let's just get going. So it says Ozzy Osbourne says he's leaving the U.S. because of gun violence. Now, I don't believe that for a second. This is a man that bit the head off of a bat. This was a man that had some serious problems with drug addiction. And I have recordings. No More Tears. I had that CD. So I would say I'm a fan of Ozzy. That show that he was on, the reality show, it didn't really put him, I didn't feel like it painted him in a very positive light. But anyway, I just find it hard to believe that Ozzy Osbourne's leaving the country because of gun violence. Now, I don't know how old Ozzy Osbourne is. I know that he's no spring chicken. It says Ozzy Osbourne is a Brit by birth and a Californian by choice, but after spending decades in the Golden State, he's ready to leave the U.S. It says Osbourne and his wife Sharon are returning to their Buckinghamshire residence after spending more than 20 years living in Los Angeles. So, it's not like he's living in St. Louis. It's not like he's living in Florida. He's living in Los Angeles. From what I read, from what I see, California has kind of gone downhill over time. I don't know. I wouldn't go out there right now. It's not someplace where I'd want to be. It says, the Black Sabbath singer told The Observer in a wide-ranging interview, Osbourne's family life in California was famously documented on the MTV reality series The Osbournes in the early 2000s. So I watched that. It says, gun violence in the U.S. is part of what convinced him to return to the U.K. full-time, he told The Observer. I don't think that's true, but it says, I'm fed up with people getting killed every day. He said of the American gun violence, God knows how many people have been shot in school shootings, and there was that mass shooting in Vegas at that concert. It's crazy. And then he said, he also knew that he didn't want to die in the U.S. I'm English. I want to be back. And now let me just put this out there. When I lived in Detroit, Michigan, I lived in Detroit, city of, and it wasn't in the safest part of town. And I often thought to myself, if I'm going to die, I don't want to die here. Like, I don't want my body. I just don't want to die here. And you may say, well, John, that doesn't matter. You're dead. What difference does it make? I don't know. It made a difference to me. I did not want to die in Detroit. I did not want to be dead in Detroit. I wanted, if I was going to get murdered, oddly enough, I'd rather be in St. Louis. If I was going to die, I'd rather be in St. Louis. And now, is that true going forward? I don't know. I don't know. It's hard to explain. It says there have been more than 440 mass shootings. I don't know. I'm not worried about this. Let's move on. It says Sharon Osbourne said America's changed so drastically and said there's nothing united about it. She waded into divisive debates last year where she defended her friend Piers Morgan in an argument with Sherry Underwood on an episode of their daytime series The Talk, which is not The View. And she later left the show after former colleagues accused her of using racist and homophobic language. I don't know anything about that. I would say that if you ever wanted to look up I mean, Sharon Osbourne has done some things in her life that are fascinating. I mean, she was the daughter of a promoter, I believe. And she has definitely gotten herself out there and promoted her things. So we have this, we're leaving because of gun violence partially, but I don't want to die. And so it's like, can you think of another issue where you could gain traction as a celebrity? And I feel like I can name one. What if I were a celebrity and I said, I'm leaving the United States because of its or no, I can't do that. I'm leaving the United States because of the, we're not doing enough to support Ukraine. I remember every single election that I've ever been alive, you'll find celebrities. Never seen it on the Democrat side. Always seen it on the Republican side. Any Republican that ever dares to run for office, any Republican that ever is running as a president, you will get celebrities always saying that they're going to move to Canada. That if this person gets elected, I'm moving to Canada. At this point, I'm 40 years old, like I said, 45 years old. It's happened every election I can remember. And then when you ask the people afterwards, why didn't you move to Canada? They're like, well, I'm waiting for the next election. So does that, you have to, as a celebrity, I suspect, use what people are looking for, or searching for, or what the popular news of the day is. You have to use that to your advantage to get your message out there that you're a celebrity. So it says Ozzy Osbourne gave a different reason for wanting to leave to the Mirror earlier this year. In March, the UK tabloid reported that Osbourne said the tax is getting too much, and that while he'd missed Los Angeles, he didn't want to continue paying current taxes to stay in the United States. So it was taxes then, now it's gun violence. I'm trying to think of what is in the national conscience right now that would, that would give you cover as a celebrity to leave besides Ukraine. And whatever I came up with and whatever I said would not get me banned from YouTube for saying it. If so-and-so runs for president, I'm not staying in the country. I don't know. They had the whole MTV Music Awards. I watched the first one live. I recorded the second one on my VHS because it was late at night. The VMAs. I don't know that anybody still. I don't even know if people get MTV anymore, but that was all over Google yesterday. People talking about this and that. And it's fantastic virtue signaling by people that aren't like you. They think they're much better than you. Anyway, the Osbournes will return to the UK in February, where Osbourne said he will continue to make music. His new solo album, which he recorded while experiencing several chronic health issues, including Parkinson's disease, will be released next month. So Ozzy Osbourne solo, I don't know what that means. No More Tears was solo. I mean, he's not part of Black Sabbath right now, is he? I mean, are there anybody still alive out of Black Sabbath? I thought I read a while back that he had to have the surgery, and if he didn't, he was going to be a vegetable or something. Did I miss that? Let's move on. So in the housing market, I've told you time and time again that if rates are at 5.5%, I feel like most people can get by with that. 5.5%. Let's go and see what the interest rates are today. 5.95% right here, 5.95%. Up from 5.73% yesterday. The analysis says mortgage rates jump back up to 2 month highs. See right here, and now we're having this. It's not good. Is it okay to kill the housing market to stop inflation? Well, I don't think that inflation is only stuck in the housing market. I think inflation is not containable right now when you've got energy is a problem, you've got food that's a problem, and then you've got people that, and you had cheap money for a long time, and then you have the government giving away billions of dollars to Ukraine, billions of dollars for college student loan debt, regardless of whether or not the program is popular, regardless of whether or not the program is the right thing to do. Spending on top of spending on top of spending is just going to create inflation. It's like the government doesn't, well, I know that people in the government know this, but they don't care. And so, look, put mortgage rates at 7%, put them at 8%, and find out how many people buy a house. Not going to happen. Not going to happen. So are you intentionally trying to crush the housing market? No, they're not trying to crush the housing market, but it's going to happen as a result of their interest rates maneuvers. In my lifetime, based on the housing market crisis in 2007, that was the first bubble that I experienced in the business. For it to happen again in 2022, I mean, the Fed's job is to control inflation, yet I feel like what they actually do is create bubbles. And what they actually do is transfer wealth from those wealthy or those poor folks in the United States, those middle-class people, even upper middle class. What they do is they transfer that wealth to the most wealthy. Because quite simply, people that make more money can afford when groceries go higher. They can afford when utilities go higher. They can afford when real estate goes higher. But the middle class, upper middle class, they get squeezed. And the poor, who everyone says they care about, but the economic policies in the United States have not been about the poor or helping those less. It's been pretty much to keep them where they're at. And I do believe that one of the worst things that's happened in the United States is this inability to move up through hard work. For instance, I've been middle class, lower middle class all of my life. It doesn't look like it's going to change anytime soon. I could start a business tomorrow and I could still end up being stuck because you're going to get taxed. People are going to tax the hell out of you. The competition is going to be fierce. And that's okay, right? Competition's good. But it's just like we don't move up. We don't move up. I didn't go to the right high schools in St. Louis. I didn't go to the right private schools here in St. Louis to know someone that could get me a job somewhere where I would move up. Those connections weren't made. It's just a bizarre situation. I feel like the United States is in a decline. I feel like it's been that way for a while. I believe that we paper over things, and in this instance, we're papering over spending, government spending, pretending we don't know why there's inflation. And it's like, this is economics 101. This isn't difficult to understand at all, but we don't even teach economics in high school anymore. It's just bad. So, like I said, I'd like to be at 5.5%. We're not. Going to be hard. It looks like we might get to 6% this week. This is Monday. Yeah, we could be at 6% this week. We'll cause problems in the market. But this is the hand we're dealt. Moving on. I had a friend send this article to me, and I wanted to go over it with you. I have not looked at it. We're going to look at it together now. It says, is America on the verge of a price collapse? Prices could crash by up to 20%, and homes are overvalued by as much as 72%, expert warns. Well, that doesn't sound good. This is from the Daily Mail in the UK. I just want to make sure that you can see it. It says Boise, Idaho, Charlotte, North Carolina, and Austin, Texas were the three most overvalued areas in the United States, according to Moody's Analytics. Moody's found that 183 of the nation's 413 largest regional housing markets are overvalued by more than 25%. Now, we'll have to see what that means. It says if a recession hits, house prices in those 183 regions could plummet by as much as 20%. Now, let's look at it this way. If the housing market of houses has been up by 40% in the past 3 years, does house prices going down 20% really hurt those people that bought early? No. Does it hurt you if you don't sell your house? No, it doesn't. House prices will go back up someday. Just don't know when. It says if there's not a recession, they'll still fall 10 to 15%. And the housing inventory is highest level since April 2009 as sellers struggle to get rid of their property because mortgages become more expensive. That's not true. That doesn't make any sense. Let me just do it again. The housing inventory is at its highest level since April 2009 as sellers struggled to get rid of their property because mortgages have become more expensive. No, if you've got a mortgage, if you've got a fixed rate mortgage, a 30-year fixed, and you bought in 2018, you're not doing anything differently right now. There's no reason for you to be compelled to sell. You've probably got a mortgage below 3%. Says mortgage rates have nearly doubled since January, rising 5.3% for a 30-year loan as of last week, according to Freddie Mac. Well, what about now? We're at 5.95%. All right, let's go into it. It says, and this is Mark Zandi. Boy, he gets in the news. That's what I would say to that. Is he's always in the news. Good for him. It says house prices could fall by up to 20% next year if there's a recession. And property in some areas of the country is overvalued by as much as 72%. Mark Zandi, chief economist for Moody Analytics, was pessimistic about the housing market in May, but he has now made his forecast even more bleak. Fortune reported on Wednesday. It comes amid ongoing arguments over whether the U.S. is already in a recession, with the country recording 2 consecutive quarters of negative growth, the traditional definition of such a slump. Now, let's understand that anymore, we just go ahead and say, we just change the definitions of all words. That's what we do. So a recession it's not a recession anymore because we'll just change the definition of the word. And you have a compliant press that goes right ahead and does that. So I mean, it irritates me, this idea that, the idea that we're not in a recession is a joke, but we've defined now that that's not a recession. So anyway, it says the news is particularly dire for people who've purchased homes in what Fortune terms bubbly markets, with Boise and Idaho, Charlotte, North Carolina, and Austin and Texas all named the most overvalued markets. But a total of 180 other areas across the U.S. have property deemed overvalued, many of them highly desirable. They include Los Angeles, Orlando, Seattle, and Annapolis, where properties all estimated to be 30% overvalued. Homes in Houston are about 34.5% overvalued, while properties in Montana are 25% overvalued. Picturesque Bend in Oregon, regularly voted as one of the United States' best places to live, has homes that are 43.8% overvalued, according to Moody's, with Billings in Montana 25% overvalued. Now, how did they get to this number? How did they get to this overvalue? Like, why isn't every single place in Florida considered overvalued? I'm just asking. Maybe you know. It says it comes weeks after the United States Central Bank hiked the benchmark interest rates to 2.5%, with another increase to 3.4% expected by the end of the year, as the Fed tries to tame inflation. They're not going to try to tame inflation. They're going to turn the market absolutely upside down. It's like, you're not going to have to worry about inflation when you aren't going to be able to afford anything. The rich will be okay. It says those interest rate hikes are expected to plunge the U.S. into recession, which we're already in, and will also likely lower the cost of property as it becomes too expensive for many to get a mortgage, cratering demand. Now, just understand, this morning, I literally couldn't get into a property to show it within 24 hours of it going on the market and having a contract on it accepted. It says the most overvalued areas are largely in the Mountain West and Sunbelt. Boise, Idaho, which saw house prices increase during the pandemic or skyrocket as droves swapped pricey cities in the Bay Area and wider California for the buzzing Idaho City, is the most overvalued area. Boise, where the current average house is worth $526,000, according to Zillow, is almost 75% overvalued, although a recession is only expected to wipe 20% off the prices of homes at most. This is what I've said to people over time. Like, I had a young couple that bought a very nice house a number of years ago. And they're like, what happens if there's a recession? I said, well, your house doesn't go to zero. Like I said, this house here, it said in Boise, I don't know if it had the price, but it had gone up like 57%. Or something. I don't know. Maybe I'm making it. But if it goes up that much and you only lose 20% in the worst of worst scenarios, it's not bad. Deal with it. It says Charlotte, North Carolina is second most overvalued at 66%, with Austin third at 61%. It says Charlotte, North Carolina is 66% overvalued, with the average home in $406,137 at the moment. And Austin, Texas is 61% overvalued, an average of $661,000. But where are those people moving from? And why are they moving from there? Flagstaff, Arizona is overvalued by 61%, while Nashville, Tennessee is 54% overvalued, and Miami is 34%. It's unclear why those overvalued areas are expected to see a maximum of 20% wiped off the house prices rather than the full amount experts believe they're overvalued by. Yeah, I mean, that's a very reasonable question. Look, you're saying that this house is 70% overvalued. Well, then in a recession, shouldn't you lose 70% of the value? Oh, no, we're going to lose 20 at the max. Doesn't make much sense. I think it's a reasonable argument. It says only a handful of places were considered undervalued, the most undervalued being Decatur, Illinois, where the average house is $92,000, undervalued at 6%. Montgomery, Alabama is 2% undervalued, and Grants Pass, Oregon is $418,440 is 3.1%. Who comes up with these analytics that says this? I'm just asking. I don't know. It says the housing inventory is at its highest level since April 2009, and sellers struggle to get rid of their property because mortgages have become more expensive and other financial pressures. High gas prices, soaring costs of groceries continue to be felt. Well, that's not on the seller side. I say that not on the seller side in the sense that, like, look, you shouldn't be having to list your house for sale if you bought your house 5 years ago. I mean, that doesn't make any sense, especially since we're saying that we're not in a recession. Like, what's going on here? It says mortgage rates have nearly doubled, which they've more than doubled. And says the Fed's effort to bring down inflation by slowing spending has caused a marked slowdown of home sales. I don't know about that. It says Moody's Analytics assesses every quarter whether local economic fundamentals, including local income levels, can support local house prices. Well, that's reasonable. That's reasonable. It's affordability. It's home affordability. But see, here you go. Cereal, fruits and vegetables, meat and poultry. Well, I haven't been able to buy a steak in forever. And then you've got federal interest rates just zoom. It says the latest data shared with Fortune found that 183 of the nation's 413 largest housing markets were overvalued by more than 25%, and nationwide housing prices will also likely decline. He predicts the U.S. house prices across the country will decline over the next 12 months between 0 and negative 5%, a more pessimistic forecast one in June when Moody's Analytics expect the U.S. house prices to remain unchanged. Now, they've made a change. And that's what I wanted to tell you about experts. Experts are allowed to change their opinion without anything bad happening to them. They don't lose their jobs. No one even remembers what they said before. And if they do, it's always couched in, well, they change their opinion. I'm not saying anything should be, but you are not an expert. And so you're not allowed. So if you say, like, I'm a real estate agent, I'm not considered an expert. I'm not an economist. So if I say the housing market is going to dip 10% and then it doesn't, well, look at you, you were wrong. It doesn't even get that way because nobody cares what I think. And on these economists, I don't know that anybody cares what they think either. Really, if I'm having a kid, if I'm having a child, arriving or coming soon, or if I'm getting married, or if I have to downsize because I don't have my job or something, this doesn't matter. Like anything else doesn't matter. You're selling or buying because of a reason that is unrelated to everyone else. Really, I mean, if everybody loses their job and can't afford a house and you all try to sell houses, then no one can buy them. That's not going to happen. And I suspect that you're going to get Wall Street coming in again and buying houses at a discount only to make even more money. It says Moody's Analytics is not an outlier. Ian Shepperton, chief economist at Pantheon Macroeconomics, said on Tuesday that the outlook for housing sales is even more grim than the Fed has said, and the worst is yet to come for home prices. He tweeted on Tuesday that he'd been bearish as hell about housing for a month, meaning that he predicted a significant slump in the market. A bear market is one where prices are falling and people are selling. He attached a graph showing the dramatic downturn. Well, I'm feeling vindicated. Sales of new single-family homes hit their lowest level in nearly 7 years in July, falling 12.6% to a seasonally adjusted annual rate of 511,000. Fitch said that it envisions U.S. home prices dropping by up to 15%. And Robert Schiller, an economist who correctly predicted the 2008 housing crash, thinks there's a good chance home prices could fall by more than 10%. It's like, okay, now we're all deciding that the houses are going to fall by 10%. It says a study published by real estate brokerage Redfin on Monday found that high share of home sellers dropped their asking price in July, particularly in former pandemic boom times. Well, they listed their price for their houses for 2 months. It says Boise saw 70% of listings slashed in July, up from just a third a year ago. In Denver, 58% of home listings were reduced, while 56% of listings in Salt Lake City were dropping from the initial asking price. This is because you priced your house wrong. You were greedy. It says individual home sellers and builders were both quick to drop their prices early this summer, mostly because they had unrealistic expectations of both price and timelines. They priced too high because their neighbor's home sold for an exorbitant price a few months ago and expected to receive multiple offers the first weekend because they heard stories about that happening. That's absolutely right. And if you as a listing agent were to go to somebody's house and say, let's say there's 3 people at a listing appointment, okay? And like I come in and they say, well, what do you think my house is worth? I said, well, I don't know. What do you think your house is worth? They say, well, the neighbor sold their house yesterday, and it wasn't that good, and it went for $550,000. We think we can get $600 for this house right now. I say, well, I don't think so. I think the interest rates have gone up. I think that the market has changed. We're not right in the middle of the summer selling season. They'd say, well, thank you for your time. We'll get back to you. And then they'll call the agent that would go ahead and list their house for $600,000. That's what would happen. And they wouldn't give a damn about you, and they don't care what you think, and they don't care about your expertise. They want to make the most money they possibly can, and they feel that you are the barrier to them making that money. You're the barrier, not the market. It says, my advice to sellers is to price their home correctly from the start, accept that the market is slowed, and understand that it may take longer than 30 days to sell. If someone is selling a nice home in a desirable neighborhood, they shouldn't need to drop their price. I think that's true. If you're selling a nice home that doesn't need a bunch of work, you should be able to get the asking price at a minimum. And if you're if you're representing buyers right now, I mean, are you really coming in with offers that are ridiculously over asking on houses that don't warrant it? That's not good for your clients. It says, although industry data shows that home prices remain higher than they were a year ago nationwide and in nearly every market, listing reductions have increased dramatically as sellers' lofty expectations meet with cold reality. Redfin said that the national share of homes for sale with price drops reached a record high in July. Look, lofty expectations meet with cold reality. I'm telling you as a real estate agent, like I understand what people want when I list a home. They want the most money. And if they think that you're a barrier to them getting the money, they're not going to hire you. It doesn't matter how well you know the market. It doesn't matter if you're a neighborhood expert. They want their money. And they don't believe you. Their neighbor sold their house last month for $70,000 over asking. And now all of a sudden you say that our asking price is going to be $70,000 less than that? Nope. I don't know. I mean, this is, if you just look at mortgage rates, we're at the highest level we've ever been with the average mortgage rate. I mean, it's in the $2,000 range. It's really tough to live a good life. I mean, if you're making, you got to make pretty good money. You got to make at least 24 grand a year to afford a $2,000 mortgage and not have any money for food, clothing, anything else. I mean, now you say, well, 24,000 isn't that much, John. I'm bringing in six figures. I get that. But man, 6% mortgage rate, 8% mortgage rate. I can't afford that. It's going to be tough. I don't know. You should put a comment in the comment section. You should put something in the chat and let me know what you think about that. Do we do another article? What time is it? Yeah, we'll do another article. I thought this was an interesting article, and I've been talking about this. I've actually got a YouTube short that went kind of viral for me. Maybe 1,000 people have seen it, which, that's a joke. It's a joke because I know that, millions of people see shorts and I can only get 1,000. But anyway, let's look at this. What I've said is people say to me that there's all this, there's a housing shortage. If we just build more houses, then house prices will go down. That we just don't have enough houses. We need to build more houses. I've never felt real comfortable about that because I remember in 2007, what was happening to me in my belief is everyone kind of owned 2 houses or 3 houses and they only lived in one of them, but they were going to fix and flip the other one. And there were lots of empty houses all over the place. And those empty houses made me feel like, if people were just buying those houses, single family homeowners, not trying to flip them or anything, there was way too much inventory. It says the housing market in America is not one, but many markets that generally share a few common threads. I agree. In America, the government, coupled with a slew of builder and realtor associations, controls the housing narrative. I agree. If we wanted to say that houses are going, everything's perfect, we would find numbers that said that everything was perfect in the market. If we want to change the narrative to the housing market sucks, we will do that. This is, in my opinion, a foundation of economics. Okay. For you to have faith that the market is going higher. Okay. You need people around you to say that the market's doing better. It's a perception. It's a feeling. When Ronald Reagan became president in 1980, nothing materially changed except for people all of a sudden believed that the economy was better. There wasn't anything structural about it. They just believed it. When I was in Detroit in 2006, 2007, when the automakers literally went bankrupt, okay, no one felt positive about anything. Economics are at their core behavioral. I believe this, and I'm putting it out there. You can disagree with me. Okay. I'm putting it out there. It says, the truth is what they have been telling and selling us in general is based on their self-interest. Owning your home has pros and cons and not the best option for everyone. I disagree with that statement, and here's why. I don't care if the housing market goes up. I don't care if the housing market goes down. My goal is to help buyers buy homes and sellers sell theirs. This plays out different ways, okay? Like for the last, 6 months to a year, I've been showing houses to buyers weekend after weekend and being outbid on every single property. Okay. This didn't serve my interest at all. It was terrible. Last couple of months, I've done better, but I don't want a market in which I can't ever do a deal. Okay. I would much rather have a market where I can do a deal at least than deal with this, this idea of self-interest. Like, I don't care if the market's hot. I don't care if the market's cold. I need buyers and I need sellers. Okay. I need transactions. It says, with mortgage rates rising, it appears we're witnessing a key reversal moment in the housing sector where fear of missing out vanishes, which we talked about earlier, and I hadn't even shown you this article, and is replaced by the idea I'm glad I didn't buy. The narrative we have is a housing shortage is begging to crumble. It is likely many buyers are shifting to a wait and see mode. The false housing narrative of shortages is breaking down. The cheap money flowing from Wall Street has stopped flowing in some places has begun to retreat. That's right. What is it? Blackstone or one of those has stopped buying in 38 cities. That's a Wall Street firm. They actually made an offer on one of the homes that I was listing, and it was for like $5,000 less than what I was asking for the house. It was fascinating because we sold it for $30,000 over asking, but whatever. Whether this will be a short-term dip in prices or develop into a situation that lasts for years is difficult to predict. Just a few of the factors feeding into the future prices of housing include interest rates, property taxes, insurance costs, maintenance, and the incomes of people living in the area. Incomes and interest rates are huge factors when it comes to affordability. This is where the real problem is, and the lack of an easy fix that will make money for the big boys that drive our economy. It says affordability is a growing issue. That's right. Housing prices can surge during a bubble, but rapidly repeat. This is the home price index. It appears that we've reached that apex. And while cheaper, inexpensive housing is difficult to find overall, plenty of housing units exist if people are simply willing to clean them up. Often this means lowering their expectations of what they deserve. The reality is not everyone can afford or live in a brand new house. It's true. We have a huge development going in across the street. They sold a lot of units. I hope that they're successful. I don't wish them ill. But those people that buy homes for what they're asking in that subdivision, we're not going to be able to turn those houses anytime soon for those prices. I mean, there's no way. There's no way. So in a recent development, it is a recent development in just the last few decades that young couples and singles think they need or should be living in a several thousand square foot house with all the fixings and 3 or more baths and bedrooms and attached garage and more. Yes, the average size of a new home has grown while the size of families and the number of occupants have declined. It's true. It's true. People just expect things. I take young buyers around and show them houses that are less than 1,000 square feet, and they look at me like I've got 3 eyes. They're like, what in the hell? Like, who would want to live in this ever? And it's very hard to explain to them that people have lived that way since at least through the 2000s. It was totally normal and okay to live in these homes. And for a family to live in a home that was a 3-bedroom home and 1 bath or 2 bath, less than 1,000 square feet, that wasn't unusual. It wasn't strange. And it wasn't a starter home. It says population shifts in the media hype have also added to muddying the housing picture. Housing envy, the desire to live like the Joneses, is driven by images of most families living far better than the average American. Whether it is in a commercial, film, or the news, few people are put before us that live in a dirty, cramped shithole. Amen. And when I show houses that are like that, like somebody says, I can afford a $250,000 mortgage, and you go and show them a $250,000 house, and they're like, oh my God, this is terrible. This is terrible. I mean, what do you make of that? You know, it's like, look, this house is horrible. This is what you can get for this price. It's not great. It says the sad fact that people cause most of their own problems tend to be overlooked. If a person wants a nicer place to live, there's this thing called paint, another item called a broom. The number of empty and underutilized houses in older neighborhoods stand as a monument to our government's failed housing policy. Absolutely. Absolutely. I bet you in North St. Louis right now, I bet you that maybe it's 20% owner occupied. And then there's just abandoned homes. I'm just saying. And that's just in St. Louis. Now, look, this is the market I know, but I'm quite positive that throughout the United States, there's these sections where no one wants to live. And there's all these houses, and it doesn't matter because there's other failed policies. There's crime. There's, graft and corruption, political graft and corruption. Maybe there's even some steering on the part of the government to move people into and out of areas or move certain people into areas. I know that sounds rough, doesn't it? It doesn't sound like a good thing. It's not. It's not a good thing. It says investor demand and massive building activity in various areas of America will prove to be a destabilizing influence on prices going forward. That's right. Overall, one of the largest factors remain the fact that houses are a tangible asset and may prove safer than paper promises most people consider of having value. We must also remember home ownership plays directly into the wealth effect. Housing values impact how people feel about the economy and has a huge influence on spending habits. All the above factors feeding into this important sector of our economy create a murky picture for the future of housing. In an economic downturn of real magnitude, a reduction in household creation where people double or triple up is very likely. Across America, we have a huge number of large houses, and the consolidation, the number of households can rapidly reduce demand when people move in together. One thing that is clear, people should take a cautious approach when they decide to make one of the biggest purchases of their lifetime. So, what they're saying is look, if houses become unaffordable and they're huge, then what's going to happen is that people are going to just move in together. Let me say this. I'm done for the night for this here. Let me say this. I have a young, I don't want you to see that. That's tomorrow. Yeah, we might see it. I have a young buyer, single fellow. He's buying a house. He's bringing in 2 roommates. I would at age 28, my first home, the whole reason why I got a home was so that I didn't have to live with someone. Like I didn't want to. Like I wanted to live on my own. I didn't want to be dealing with other people's stuff. He's got 2 roommates moving in automatically. That's the way it works. People find a way. You want to own a home? We'll figure out a way to do it. We'll move more people in. Fascinating article. Well, I think that'll do it for me. I hope you learned something tonight. I hope you got something of value. If you did, if you would hit the subscribe button, hit the notification button. I don't often tweet, in time for you to know to come to see a show. But I should. If you do subscribe though, and you do hit the notification, you should get a notification. I don't think my channel is such that people are going to get unsubscribed and shadow ban. There's no one watching, so I don't see that as happening. So I think you got a good chance if you hit the notification button that you'll actually know when I'm on. Come hang out one night. Let's chat about housing. We'll talk about what I think, what you think, and maybe we'll get somewhere. Maybe we'll learn this industry together. I say learn this. I know a lot about it, but if you ever think that you know it all, that's the moment as a real estate agent where you better sit down, or else you're going to be humbled in ways that you didn't see coming. All right. Well, that's where I'm at tonight. I hope you have a great rest of your evening. I should stream tomorrow. I don't see any reason why I won't. Thank you for watching. If you're listening on the podcast, thank you for listening, and I will catch you on the next one. Bye.